Chris from thetraderguy.com doing another quote-unquote chart of the day. It's been a while since I've done one, but quite frankly, this is the first one I've seen in a while that was worth doing some type of video on. And this is the Euro US dollar going into the October 10th Forex session. And as you can see, we had a pretty significant sell-off on the 9th, which was Tuesday. Now, as this chart has been going up, we have a little bit of a trend line. It's a little bit of a sloppy trend line, but it is a trend line nonetheless that this market has been following. Now, the first thing that you'll notice is there is a shooting star once we get above 130 and we started to fall. We bounced back up again, formed another shooting star a couple sessions ago, and now we've fallen. The orange line is the 200-day EMA. I just use it as a general trend guideline. I already know what the trend is, but I know that a lot of people use it, so therefore it becomes important. As I look at this, I can see that we have the 200-day moving average and the uptrend line all converging in the same general vicinity. This normally means that some type of decision will have to be made. In this particular case, I see a good argument for support. But once you take all of this out, let me go ahead and take all of the trend lines out. Let's go ahead and take a look at it without the 200-day EMA as well. And the other thing that we can suggest, it's a little early to state this, but perhaps we're trying to do some type of descending triangle, which of course would be bearish. Now, looking at this, you can make an argument for a move lower, roughly 300 pips or so, which would put us right about 125. The pair does tend to be attracted to large round numbers at the 500 pip interval, so that wouldn't be a surprise if we broke down. But ultimately, you have to think about all of the things going on in Europe. There's yet another finance ministers meeting, which will more than likely produce a lot of talk about talking later. And the markets will probably get a little bit disappointed. At this point in time, when I look at this pair and I zoom out, I can see that there is a ton of resistance above. So the fact that we failed here isn't a surprise. Now, I'm not necessarily thinking that a meltdown is in the cards, but certainly we've gone a bit too far too quick. The QE3 bounce from the Fed announcing easing certainly is starting to wear off, and actually several indices around the world, stock markets, are starting to look very similar. They're all on an uptrend like that. You've got a lower high starting to break down, starting to come close to the trend line. The FTSE in London, the Dow Jones, the S&P 500 all look like that I can think of off the top of my head. There's one other one that I happened to see today as well. So having said that, it does look like perhaps we're heading into a little bit of a risk-off attitude. Earnings season did start on the 9th in New York for the stock exchanges, so perhaps that could have something to do with it as well. But anyways, nonetheless, I see this area here as extremely resistive, and as such, we will struggle to go above it. All of that, all of the 200-day moving average, the trend line, everything, all seems to focus right around this area. So essentially, I see it as 128. If we can get below 128, we more than likely will find 125. I don't like buying this pair because of the fact that the last high was lower. Also, again, I see all of this noise. So this is a simple one-way trade for me. Either I get my signal and we break down through this cluster, or we don't. And it's that simple. I will keep the idea of that line on my chart going forward, and I will also acknowledge the fact that we could, although we don't know, be forming a descending triangle as well. Knowing all of that, I know that there's only one direction to trade, and then also you have to come, any reasonable thinking person has to realize that there is always a bit of a downside risk headline-wise out of Europe as well. So that's my chart of the day, and a breakdown to show you how I kind of worked my way through this pair and where I'm at and how I'm thinking about it. I'm not in it yet, but I do know where I want to be in it, and that's half of trading, knowing where you want to be, waiting for the market to come to your price, and then getting involved. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at chris@thetraderguy.com, and do not forget there is a forum, if you're watching this on YouTube, that you can come to that has hours upon hours of free videos teaching you how to trade. Thanks a lot.